The night shift at Imperial Command Station Alpha 9 was supposed to be quiet. Technical Officer Veltar sat at his monitoring station, sipping his third cup of bitter cough while watching the endless stream of data flowing across his screens. The Outer Rim territories were usually peaceful, with nothing more exciting than the occasional asteroid or space debris passing through their sensor range. But at exactly 23:47 Standard Time, everything changed. A small blip appeared on his primary display, moving at a speed that made Veltar's coffee cup freeze halfway to his lips. He blinked hard, thinking his tired eyes were playing tricks on him. The dot on his screen was moving impossibly fast, crossing distances that should take days in mere minutes. "Computer, run diagnostic on Sensor Array 7, Veltar commanded, his voice slightly shaky. "All systems functioning normally," came the cold, mechanical reply. Veltar's heart began to race. He quickly pulled up the vessel identification protocols, running the unknown signature through every database in the Imperial archives. Ships from the core worlds, Outer Rim pirates, rebel vessels, ancient derelicts, he checked them all. Nothing matched. The readings were completely wrong. According to his instruments, the ship was roughly 200 meters long, with a hull composition that didn't match any known materials. Its design appeared crude, almost primitive, like something built by a species that had just discovered space travel, but the speed readings were off the charts. "This can't be right," Veltar muttered, frantically recalibrating his equipment. The mysterious vessel was moving faster than the Empire's most advanced dreadnoughts, faster than anything in their military fleet. It had already crossed 2 solar systems in just 4 hours, a journey that should take their fastest ships at least 2 days. Veltar's hands trembled as he reached for the emergency communication panel. This was way above his pay grade. "Admiral Dexron to the command center immediately," he announced over the station's intercom system. "Priority Alpha emergency." Within minutes, Admiral Dexron burst through the command center doors, his uniform hastily thrown on and his usually perfect hair disheveled. Behind him came a stream of senior officers, all looking confused and concerned. "What's the situation, officer?" Strawn demanded, his 4 eyes scanning the displays. "Sir, we have an unidentified vessel approaching Imperial space at unprecedented speeds," Veltar reported, his voice steadier now that his superiors were handling the crisis. "It's crossed 3 solar systems in just 6 hours. Admiral Dexron's face went pale. In his 30 years of service, he had never encountered anything like this. "Show me the readings." The data that appeared on the main screen made everyone in the room fall silent. The ship's energy signature was unlike anything they had ever seen. It wasn't using conventional faster-than-light drives, plasma engines, or even the experimental quantum tunneling technology their scientists were developing. It responded to our standard hailing frequencies?" asked Commander Zixai, the station's security chief. "No response on any channel, sir," Veltar replied. "It's completely ignored our attempts at communication." Admiral Dexron studied the ship's projected course. "Where is it heading?" "Directly toward the Imperial capital system, sir. Current speed. It will reach the outer defense grid in approximately 18 hours. The room erupted in worried murmurs. An unknown vessel, heading straight for the heart of the Empire, was everyone's worst nightmare. "Deploy the 7th Fleet to intercept," Vixaron ordered, "and send word to Imperial Command. They need to know about this immediately." But as the officers scrambled to carry out his orders, something even more disturbing happened. The mysterious ship simply vanished from their sensors. "Where did it go?" Vixaron shouted. Veltar's fingers flew over his controls, desperately searching for any trace of the vessel. "I don't know, sir. It just disappeared completely." For 30 agonizing seconds, the command center was filled with tense silence. Officers checked and rechecked their equipment, hoping for any sign of the vanished ship. Then, without warning, it reappeared. But now it was in a completely different location, thousands of kilometers away from where it had vanished. The ship had somehow moved instantaneously across space, appearing behind their defense satellites and sensor networks. "How is that possible?" whispered Commander Zixai. Admiral Vixaron felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years of military service, fighting rebels, pirates, and hostile alien species, he had never encountered technology that could simply teleport across space. Sir Veltar called out, his voice barely above a whisper. The ship is moving again. It's heading directly for us. On the main display, mysterious vessel was now approaching Imperial Command Station Alpha 9 at the same impossible speed. But this time, there was something different about its approach pattern. It wasn't acting like a weapon or an invasion. It was acting like it was coming to talk. The panic that had gripped the station, now mixed with a terrifying realization. Whatever this ship was, whoever was controlling it, they possessed technology that made the mighty Galactic Empire look like children playing with toys, and they were coming closer. The alarm sirens wailed across every Imperial military base within 50 light-years as the Empire's entire defense fleet received the emergency scramble order. Admiral Vexron's urgent transmission had reached Imperial Command, and within minutes, over 300 warships were powering up their engines and preparing for the fastest mobilization in Imperial history. Fleet Commander Zixay stood on the bridge of the massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion, watching his tactical display as dozens of Imperial vessels converged on the unknown ship's projected path. In his 40-year military career, he had faced rebel uprisings, pirate fleets, and hostile alien invasions, but nothing had prepared him for what he was seeing now. "Status report," he commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos surrounding him. "All vessels in position, Commander," reported his tactical officer. "The unknown ship is still maintaining course toward Imperial space. Estimated contact in 27 minutes. Zixay studied the readings on his main screen. The mysterious vessel was still moving at that impossible speed, but now they had a better view of its design. The ship looked almost primitive, with a hull that appeared to be made of simple metal alloys rather than the advanced composite materials used by Imperial vessels. Its shape was angular and utilitarian, lacking the sleek curves and elegant design of Empire ships. "How can something that looks so basic move faster than our most advanced vessels?" he muttered to himself. "Commander, the target is entering our interception zone," announced the navigation officer. "All ships prepare to engage. Surround the vessel, but do not fire unless fired upon," Zixay ordered. "We need to know what we're dealing with before we start shooting." The Imperial fleet formed a massive barrier across the unknown ship's path, their weapons powered but not yet targeting. 300 of the Empire's finest warships, each one capable of destroying a small moon, waited in perfect formation. But as the mysterious vessel approached their position, something incredible happened. The ship simply vanished. "Where did it go?" Zixay shouted, spinning toward his sensor operator. "I don't know, sir. It just disappeared from all our sensors simultaneously." Panic spread across the bridge as officers frantically searched their displays for any trace of the vessel. Most advanced sensor arrays in the galaxy had lost track of a single ship in open space. "Check for cloaking technology," Zixay ordered. "Run deep scans on all frequencies." For several tense minutes, the entire Imperial fleet searched desperately for the vanished ship. Their sensors found nothing. It was as if the vessel had never existed. Then, without warning, a voice crackled over the communication system. "The voice you selected does not support this language. Please click the upper right corner to switch to another voice." "Time in perfect galactic standard. This is Earth Vessel Thunderbolt, requesting safe passage through Imperial space. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic contact." Commander Zixay felt his blood turn cold. Earth. He had never heard of any planet called Earth in any of the Imperial databases. And how had this ship appeared so close to their fleet without being detected? "Unknown vessel. You have entered Imperial space without authorization," Zixay transmitted. "Back. Identify yourself and your species immediately." "We are humans from the planet Earth," came the calm reply. "I am Captain Li Dongho of the Earth Federation. We have been observing your civilization for some time and believe it is time for formal contact." The words sent shockwaves through the Imperial fleet, observing their civilization. How long had these humans been watching them without their knowledge? "Captain," This is Fleet Commander Zixai of the Imperial Navy. You will surrender your vessel for inspection and submit to Imperial authority." A soft chuckle came through the communication system. "Commander, I appreciate your position, but I'm afraid that won't be possible. However, I would be happy to meet with your representatives to discuss our mutual interests." Before Zixai could respond, the space in front of his flagship began to shimmer and distort. Slowly, like a mirage becoming solid, the mysterious ship materialized directly in front of them. The vessel was even more unusual up close. Its hull was covered in strange markings and symbols that looked nothing like any known alien writing. But what truly shocked the Imperial officers was its size. The ship was barely larger than an Imperial courier vessel. Yet it had outmaneuvered their entire fleet. "How is this possible?" whispered the tactical officer. A small section of the ship's hull opened, and a tiny craft emerged. It was clearly some kind of shuttle designed for short-range transport. As it approached the Imperial flagship, Zixi found himself holding his breath. "Permission to come aboard, Commander," came Captain Li Dongho's voice. "I believe we have much to discuss." Against his better judgment, Zixai found himself authorizing the docking. Minutes later, he stood in the shuttle bay watching as the alien craft settled onto the deck with barely a sound. The shuttle's door opened with a soft hiss, and a figure stepped out that made every Imperial officer gasp in surprise. Captain Kim. Minho looked almost exactly like the humanoid species from the Inner Rim territories, but there were subtle differences. His skin was a different tone, his eyes were shaped differently, and he moved with a confidence that seemed to radiate from within. "Greetings, Commander Zixai," Minho said with a slight bow. "Thank you for allowing this meeting. How do you know my name?" Zixai demanded, his hand instinctively moving toward his weapon. Minho smiled calmly. "Commander, we have been monitoring Imperial communications for over 15 years. We know the names, ranks, and service records of most of your senior officers. We know your fleet positions, your trade routes, and your military capabilities." The blood drained from Zixai's face. 15 years of surveillance? How had the Empire's intelligence services missed an entire species operating in their territory? "You're lying," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. 3 months ago, you received a promotion after the successful defense of the Kepler system," Minho continued. "Your wife, Felina, celebrated by cooking your favorite meal, roasted keth with golden spices. You have 2 children, both serving in the Imperial Academy." Zixai stepped backward, his mind reeling. That information was classified, known only to a few high-ranking officials and his family. Out. "How do you know this?" Minho's expression became more serious. "Commander, humans have been watching, learning, and preparing for this moment for decades. We know more about your empire than you might be comfortable with." The realization hit Zixai like a physical blow. These humans hadn't just appeared out of nowhere. They'd been studying the Empire for years, gathering intelligence, and preparing for contact, and the Empire had never known they existed. Did the emergency council chamber aboard? The Imperial flagship had never seen such tension. Fleet Commander Zixai sat across from Captain Kim Minho, while the Empire's top military officials participated via holographic transmission from across the galaxy. The mood was dark and suspicious as everyone waited to hear what these mysterious humans really wanted. Imperial Security Chief Mordok materialized as a blue hologram, scarred face showing years of brutal warfare. "Captain Minho, you claim your people have been observing us? Explain exactly what you mean by that." Minho nodded calmly and activated a small device on his wrist. "I think it would be better if my intelligence officer explained this to you." Directly, the air in the chamber shimmered, and suddenly another human appeared via hologram. This one was a woman with sharp, intelligent eyes and a confident bearing that immediately put the Imperial officers on edge. "Greetings, Imperial leaders. I am Captain Park Sujin, Director of Earth Federation Intelligence Operations. I have been personally overseeing our observation of your civilization for the past 12 years. Mordok leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Observation? What kind of observation?" Sujin smiled slightly, but there was no warmth in it. "The comprehensive kind, Security Chief. We have been monitoring your communications, tracking your fleet movements, and studying your political structure since our first contact probe reached Imperial space in 2387. That's impossible. Mordok snapped. Our sensor networks would have detected any foreign vessels or surveillance equipment, would they? Sujin asked, raising an eyebrow. She gestured, and the holographic display in the center of the chamber came to life. Let me show you something. Interesting. The display showed a detailed schematic of Imperial Command Station Alphanine, the same station where the humans had first been detected. But this wasn't a standard Imperial blueprint. It showed details that weren't in any official records. This is the layout of your command station, Sujin explained. Notice the small modifications we made to your communication array 18 months ago, and the listening devices we installed in the command center during routine maintenance. Zixai's face went pale. You're saying you had people inside our most secure facility? Not people, Commander? Our technology? Sujin waved her hand, and the display changed to show microscopic devices smaller than dust particles. These are quantum surveillance nanobots. They're invisible to your sensors and can record everything they see and hear. Mordok was on his feet now, his face flushed with anger. You've been spying on us for decades. Longer than that, actually, Sujin replied calmly. We've been inside your classified facilities, your government buildings, your military academies, and even your private residences. We know about your secret weapons projects, your economic problems, and your political scandals. The holographic display changed again, showing a series of classified Imperial documents, top-secret military plans, trade agreements, and confidential communications scrolled past the shocked faces of the Imperial officers. This is Project Starbreaker, Sujin, narrated as blueprints of a massive weapon appeared. Your plan to build a planet-destroying weapon to intimidate rebel worlds. This is Operation Silent Storm, your secret plan to infiltrate and destabilize the governments of neutral systems. And this, she paused, as a personal message appeared as a love letter. From Admiral Dexron to his secretary, written just last week. Admiral Dexron's hologram flickered with embarrassment and rage. This is an act of war. No, Admiral, Sujin corrected. This is intelligence gathering, and we've been very good at it. Minho leaned forward in his chair. Captain Sujin. Perhaps you should show them the extent of our knowledge. Sujin nodded and activated another program. The holographic display now showed a three-dimensional map of the entire Imperial territory, with detailed information about every military base, every trade route, and every strategic resource. We know that you have a secret fleet hidden in the Nexus sector, she began. We know about the rebellion brewing on Korvax Prime, and we know that your economy is on the verge of collapse due to the war costs in the Outer Rim. Mordok sat down heavily, his face showing the weight of this revelation. How long have you known all this? Long enough to prepare for this moment, Sujin replied. But let me introduce you to someone who can explain the technical aspects of our operations. Another human appeared via hologram, a young woman with the bearing of a military officer, but the eyes of a scientist. This is Lieutenant Choi Vejin, our Chief Technology Officer, Sujin announced. Vejin stepped forward and activated her own display. Imperial officers, what I'm about to show you might be difficult to accept. Over the past 15 years, we have not only been observing your technology, we have been improving it. The display showed Imperial plasma cannons, but with modifications that made them far more powerful and efficient. These are your standard ship-mounted weapons, the Jinn explained. We reverse-engineered them from samples we acquired during various acquisitions. Then we made them better. She gestured, and the display showed the improved human versions. Our plasma cannons are 30% more powerful, use 50% less energy, and have twice the range of your current models. Zixai stared in disbelief. You stole our weapons and made them better? Didn't steal them, Commander. We simply studied the wreckage from your various battles and learned from your designs. The Jinn's expression became more serious. But it goes much deeper than that. The display changed to show Imperial shield generators, computer systems, and faster-than-light drives, all with human improvements. Your shield technology was impressive, but we've developed adaptive shields that can counter almost any weapon. Your computer systems were advanced, But we've created quantum processors that are 1,000 times faster. Your FTL drives were efficient, but we've built engines that can travel 10 times faster while using half the energy. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Empire's technological superiority, the foundation of their galactic dominance, had been surpassed by a species they had never even known existed. Minho stood up slowly. Gentlemen, I want you to understand something important. We haven't shown you this information to threaten you or to humiliate you. We've shown you this because we want you to understand our position. He walked to the center of the chamber, his voice calm but firm. For decades, we have watched your empire expand across the galaxy, conquering worlds and subjugating species. We have seen your military might and your technological achievements, but we have also seen your weaknesses, your failures, and your secrets. Sujin stepped forward. We know about the slave labor camps on Zarian 7. We know about the genocide on Thanatos. It's Prime. We know about the corruption in your government and the brutality of your military occupation forces. The Imperial officers exchanged uncomfortable glances. These humans knew everything, not just their military capabilities, but their darkest secrets as well. Why are you telling us this? Mordok asked quietly. Minho looked each holographic figure in the eye, because it's time for the galaxy to change. The Empire's reign of terror is ending, and we want to give you the chance to end it peacefully. Weight of those words settled over the chamber like a heavy blanket. The mighty Galactic Empire, which had dominated the galaxy for centuries, was being challenged by a species that had been watching them from the shadows for decades, and the humans were holding all the cards. DD. The tension in the council chamber had reached a breaking point. Admiral Vexron's holographic image flickered with barely contained rage as he processed everything the humans had revealed. The Empire's deepest secrets, their military plans, their technological capabilities. All of it had been laid bare by these unknown aliens. Enough, Vexron shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. I don't care what you think you know about us. You're in an Imperial space, aboard an Imperial vessel, and you will surrender immediately. Captain Kim Minho remained perfectly calm, not even flinching at the Admiral's outburst. Admiral, I would strongly advise against any hostile action. You're outnumbered 300 to 1, Fleet Commander Zixhai added, his hand moving toward the security alert button. Your single ship cannot possibly stand against our entire fleet. Minho smiled sadly. Commander, you still don't understand what you're dealing with. Perhaps a demonstration is in order. He activated his risk communicator. Major Han Sioku, please report to the shuttle bay. We need to show our host something. Within minutes, the shuttle bay doors opened and another human stepped inside. Major Han Sioku was a tall, athletic man with the confident bearing of a veteran soldier. What immediately caught everyone's attention was his uniform. It looked like simple fabric, but it seemed to shimmer slightly in the light. Major, the Imperial officers would like to see our defensive capabilities, Minho said calmly. Understood, Captain, Sioku replied. Stepping into the center of the shuttle bay, Admiral Dexron's patience finally snapped. Security teams, arrest these intruders immediately. Instantly, a dozen Imperial guards rushed into the shuttle bay, their energy weapons powered and ready. Without hesitation, they opened fire on Major Sioka-Wu. The plasma bolt struck him directly. But instead of burning through his body, they simply vanished into his uniform. The fabric absorbed the energy completely, leaving Sioku standing unharmed with his arms crossed casually. Possible, whispered Zixhai. Plasma weapons can cut through starship armor. Your weapons are impressive, Sioku acknowledged, but our adaptive shields are designed to counter any energy-based attack. They analyze the incoming energy signature and create a perfect counterfield. The Imperial guards fired again, this time with maximum power settings. The result was the same. The energy simply disappeared into the Major's uniform without causing any damage. Now, if you'll permit me, Sioku said, reaching for what looked like a simple sidearm, I'd like to show you our offensive capabilities. Before anyone could react, he fired a single shot at the shuttle bay wall. The beam that emerged from his weapon was unlike anything the Imperial officers had ever seen. It didn't just burn through the reinforced metal, it completely disintegrated it, leaving a perfectly smooth hole that went through 3 layers of starship armor. That wall is made of compressed uranium, Zixai said in shock. It would take our heaviest ship cannon several minutes to penetrate it. Our plasma weapons use a different principle, Sioku explained, holstering his weapon. We don't just heat the target, we break down its molecular structure at the quantum level. The shuttle bay doors opened again, and another human entered. This one was a woman wearing what appeared to be a colonel's insignia. Colonel Nayunbai, weapons specialist, Minho introduced her. Colonel, perhaps you could show them the difference between their technology and ours. Nayunbai nodded and approached one of the Imperial guards. May I borrow your weapon? The confused guard looked to his commander, who nodded reluctantly. The colonel took the Imperial plasma rifle and examined it carefully. This is well made, she said appreciatively. Good energy efficiency, decent range, reliable firing mechanism. She handed it back to the guard. Watch this. She drew her own weapon and fired at a piece of discarded metal on the floor. The Imperial weapon had barely scratched similar material, but the human weapon cut through it like it was paper. The difference, Nayunbai explained, is in the plasma, containment and acceleration systems. Your weapons use magnetic fields to control the plasma. Ours use gravitational manipulation to compress and accelerate the particles to near light speed. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The communication system crackled to life with urgent messages from across the Imperial fleet. All vessels, we are experiencing complete communication system failure, came a panicked voice. All secure channels have been compromised. Unknown signals are overriding our entire network. Minho touched his communicator again. Captain Yoon. Taeho, I believe you have something to show our friends. A new holographic figure appeared in the shuttle bay. A young man sitting at what looked like a computer terminal aboard the human ship. Greetings, Imperial officers, Taeho said cheerfully. I've just finished taking control of your entire communication network. Your encryption codes were quite sophisticated, but our quantum computers cracked them in about 30 seconds. Admiral Dexron's face went white. It's impossible. Our communications are protected by the most advanced security systems in the galaxy. We're protected, Taeho corrected. I'm currently reading all your internal communications, including the orders you just sent to your home fleet to mobilize additional forces. I've also taken the liberty of accessing your navigation systems. Did you know that 17 of your ships have been flying in circles for the past 10 minutes? The Imperial officers rushed to the nearest communication panel, but every screen showed the same message: system controlled by Earth Federation. This is an act of war, Mordok shouted. No, Minho replied calmly. This is a demonstration. Captain Taeho, please restore their systems. Instantly, the Imperial communication network came back online. But the message was clear. The humans had completely penetrated their most secure systems in minutes. Now, Minho continued, I believe Sergeant Ogi-1 has something even more impressive to show you. The holographic display in the shuttle bay activated, showing the space around the Imperial fleet. Everything looked normal. 300 Imperial warships in perfect formation surrounding the single human vessel. Sergeant Ogi-1, cloaking demonstration, please, Minho requested. Acknowledged, Captain, came a young woman's voice. Suddenly, the display changed dramatically. What had appeared to be empty space around the Imperial fleet was now filled with ships. Dozens of human vessels materialized simultaneously, their cloaking fields deactivating to reveal a force that completely surrounded the Imperial fleet. 50. Ship Squan reported, all fully armed and ready for combat. We've been here for the past 6 hours, completely undetected. Admiral Kexther's holographic image appeared, his face showing the shock and realization that was spreading through the Imperial command structure. You planned this? He said quietly. This entire encounter was a setup. Minho nodded. Admiral. We knew exactly when and where you would intercept us. We knew how you would respond, what forces you would deploy, and what tactics you would use. We've been studying your military doctrine for decades. You led us into a trap, Zixai realized. We led you into a conversation, Minho corrected. Conversation that needed to happen. We wanted to make sure you understood the reality of the situation before we continued. The Imperial officers looked around at each other, the weight of their situation finally sinking in. They had been outmaneuvered, outthought, and outgunned by a species they had never even known existed. "What do you want from us?" Admiral Kexler asked, his voice heavy with defeat. Minho's expression became serious. "Admiral, we want to talk about the future of this galaxy. We want to discuss it as equals, not as conquerors and conquered." Mighty Imperial fleet, which had dominated space for centuries, now found itself at the mercy of humans, who had been preparing for this moment for decades. The council chamber had fallen into an uneasy silence after the humans' devastating technological demonstration. The Imperial officers sat in stunned disbelief, processing the reality that their mighty empire had been completely outmaneuvered by a species they had never even heard of just hours before. Captain Kim Min-ho activated his communicator once more. "Commander Lee Hai-1, please join us. It's time to deliver the Federation's official position." The air shimmered, and another human appeared via hologram. Commander Lee Hai-1 was an impressive woman in her 40s, with the bearing of someone accustomed to making decisions that affected entire star systems. Her uniform was more formal than the others, decorated with insignia that clearly marked her as a high-ranking diplomatic official. "Imperial officers," she began, her voice carrying the weight of authority. "I am Commander Lee Hai-1, official representative of the United Earth Federation.
Oh.
I have been authorized by our government to present you with terms for the peaceful resolution of this situation." Admiral Lestrand's holographic form flickered with renewed anger. "Terms? You dare to dictate terms to the Galactic Empire?" Admiral Hai-1 replied calmly, "Given what you have just witnessed, I believe terms are exactly what this situation requires." She activated a holographic display that showed a detailed map of the galaxy, with certain star systems highlighted. In red, the Earth Federation formally requests that the Galactic Empire withdraw all military and civilian presence from 23 star systems within 48 standard hours, announced. The chamber erupted in shocked protests from the Imperial officers. "Those systems contain some of our most important trade routes," Fleet Commander Zixai exclaimed. "Several of our military bases," added Security Chief Mordok. Admiral Vextar's hologram materialized, his scarred face twisted in contempt. "This is ridiculous. You expect the mighty Galactic Empire to abandon strategic systems because a primitive species makes demands?" Vextar began laughing, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. "Do you have any idea how many species have tried to challenge Imperial authority? Do you know what happened to them?" Admiral Vextar Hai-1 said, consulting a small device, veteran of 47 campaigns. "Hero of the Siege of Korath, commander of the 3rd Imperial Battle Group, your forces are currently stationed at the Nexus Prime system, approximately 600 light-years from here." Vextar's laughter died abruptly. "How do you know my current position?" "That information is classified at the highest levels." "We know because we've been tracking your movements for years," Admiral Hai-1 replied. "But let me show you something that might change your perspective on our capabilities." She gestured, and another human appeared via hologram. This one was a young woman with the calm confidence of someone who held tremendous power. "This is Captain Jang Minkyong, commander of our rapid deployment fleet," Hai-1 introduced. "Captain, please show the Admiral what we can accomplish in a short time frame." Young Yon nodded and activated her own display. "Admiral Vextar, your home planet of Korath Prime is currently protected by the 7th Imperial Defense Fleet, 12 dreadnoughts, 36 cruisers, and over 100 smaller vessels. Yes, it's the most heavily defended system in the Empire," Vextar said proudly. "It was," Minkyung corrected. "10 minutes ago, I dispatched a portion of our fleet to your home system. They should be arriving, ... right about now." She touched a control, and the display changed to show real-time footage of space around Korath Prime. Suddenly, dozens of human ships materialized out of nowhere, completely surrounding the Imperial homeworld. "Impossible," Vextar shouted. "That's 600 light-years away. No ship can travel that distance in 10 minutes. "Our ships can," Minkyung said simply. "Quantum tunnel drives allow us to fold space-time itself. Distance becomes irrelevant." The Imperial officers watched in horror as the human fleet took defensive positions around their capital world. The 7th Imperial Defense Fleet was completely caught off guard, their ships scrambling to respond to the sudden appearance of an unknown enemy force. "This is an act of war," Admiral Dexron declared. "No, Admiral," High One corrected. "This is a demonstration of capability. Our ships are not attacking. They are simply ... visiting." Another human appeared via hologram, a stern-looking woman with the bearing of an intelligence officer. "This is Major Kim So-young, our Strategic Intelligence Coordinator, High One," announced. So-young activated her own display, showing detailed schematics of Imperial installations. "Imperial officers, I want you to understand exactly how comprehensive our intelligence gathering has been." The display showed the interior layouts of government buildings, military headquarters, and even the Emperor's private palace. Every room, every corridor, every security system was mapped in perfect detail. "We know the location of every nuclear facility in Imperial space," So-young continued. "We know where your leaders live, where your children go to school, where your military officers spend their vacation time." She gestured, and the display showed real-time surveillance footage from inside various Imperial facilities. Officers could see their own colleagues going about their daily routines, completely unaware they were being watched. "We have monitoring devices in your most secure locations," So-young revealed. "We can track every important conversation, every strategic decision, every secret operation you plan." Security Chief Mordok was visibly shaking. "You've turned our entire civilization into an open book." "Yes," So-young confirmed. "We have." The holographic display changed once more, and a young man appeared. His uniform indicated he was a weapons specialist, and his expression was deadly serious. "This is Lieutenant Bei Sumin, Chief Engineer of our planetary assault systems." High One introduced. Su-Min stepped forward and activated a technical display. "Imperial officers, your planets are protected by sophisticated defense systems, orbital platforms, shield generators, underground bunkers. The most secure defenses in the galaxy," Zixai said, but his voice lacked conviction. "They were impressive," Sumin acknowledged. "But our weapons operate on principles your scientists haven't discovered yet." The display showed a cross-section of a planet with human weapon systems targeting specific points. "Our quantum penetration torpedoes can phase through any shield or armor," Sumin explained. "They can travel through solid matter without causing damage, then rematerialize at any depth we choose." He pointed to the planet's core. "We can place weapons at the exact center of any world, directly in the planetary core. The resulting explosion would crack the planet like an egg." The chamber fell completely silent. The implications were terrifying. The humans could destroy any Imperial world without warning, regardless of its defenses. "You're talking about genocide," Admiral Dexron whispered. "We're talking about capability," High One corrected. "We have the power to end this conversation in the most final way possible, but we don't want to use that power." She deactivated all the displays and stepped to the center of the chamber. "Imperial officers, we have shown you that we can penetrate your defenses, neutralize your weapons, hack your communications, and destroy your worlds. We have demonstrated that we have been studying you for decades while remaining completely hidden." Minho joined her. "The question now is simple. Do you want to resolve this peacefully, or do you want to test whether we're bluffing?" Admiral Vexstar, his earlier arrogance completely gone, asked quietly, "What happens if we refuse your demands?" Haiwan's expression became grave. "Admiral, we really hope you don't make us answer that question." The mighty Galactic Empire, which had conquered thousands of worlds and dominated the galaxy for centuries, found itself facing an impossible choice: surrender strategic systems to an unknown species, or risk total annihilation. For the first time in Imperial history, they were completely and utterly checkmated. The silence in the council chamber stretched for what felt like hours, though it was only minutes. The Imperial officers sat in stunned defeat, processing the impossible situation they found themselves. In the mighty Galactic Empire, which had never bowed to any force in the galaxy, was facing its first true checkmate. Admiral Dextron was the first to break the silence, his voice hollow and defeated. What guarantee do we have that you won't simply destroy us after we withdraw from those systems? Captain Kim Minho exchanged glances with Commander Lee Hai-1 before responding. Admiral, let me introduce someone who can address your concerns. About our long-term intentions? The air shimmered once more, and another human appeared via hologram. This one was different from the others, older, with the bearing of someone who had spent decades in careful planning and analysis. This is Captain Ko Unisio, Director of Strategic Operations, Minho announced. She has been coordinating our observation of Imperial activities for the past 20 years. Unisio stepped forward, her expression serious but not hostile. Imperial officers, I want to share with you the full scope of our knowledge, so you understand exactly what position you're in. She activated a massive holographic display that filled the entire chamber. It showed a timeline stretching back decades, with thousands of Imperial operations, secret missions, and classified projects laid out in perfect detail. This is Operation Darkstar from 15 years ago, she began, pointing to specific entries. Your secret attempt to develop biological weapons for use against rebel populations? We monitored every stage of development and recorded every test. The display shifted to show another classified project. This is Project Iron Fist, your plan. To secretly replace the governments of 12 neutral worlds with imperial puppet regimes. We have recordings of every planning meeting, every briefing, and every execution order. Admiral Vextar's face had gone completely pale. These operations were known only to the highest levels of Imperial command. How could you possibly? Because we've been inside your command structure for decades, Unisio replied calmly. Our surveillance network is so comprehensive that we know about Imperial operations before many of your own officers do. She gestured, and the display showed recent communications between Imperial leaders. 3 days ago, Emperor Zaxtel authorized a secret military buildup in the Omega Sector, preparing to crush a potential rebellion. Yesterday, Admiral Korthok received orders to develop new interrogation techniques for political prisoners. This morning, Security Chief Mordok approved the assassination of a peace activist on Rigel 7. Mordok stood abruptly, his face flushed with rage and embarrassment. This is impossible. Those communications were encrypted with our most advanced security protocols. Your encryption is based on mathematical algorithms, Unisio explained patiently. Our quantum computers can solve those algorithms faster than your systems can. Generate them. The weight of complete exposure settled over the Imperial officers like a suffocating blanket. Every secret, every crime, every abuse of power had been documented by these humans. Fleet Commander Zeixai spoke quietly, his voice heavy with resignation. What are your terms for keeping this information secret? Hai-1 stepped forward. Commander, we're not interested in blackmail. We're interested in change. She activated her own display, showing a formal document with official seals and signatures. The Earth Federation is prepared to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Galactic Empire, based on mutual respect and adherence to Galactic law. A new holographic figure appeared, an elegant woman in formal diplomatic attire. I am Ambassador Shin Theron, she announced. I have been authorized by the Earth Federation to establish the first official human embassy in Imperial space. Ambassador. Theron smiled warmly, a stark contrast to the tension in the chamber. We are not conquerors, Imperial officers. We are neighbors who have finally decided to introduce ourselves properly. Admiral Dexron looked confused, but the demonstration of military force, the threats, were necessary to get your attention. Theron replied. The Empire has a long history of ignoring or destroying species it considers inferior. We needed to establish that we are neither ignorant nor helpless. Another human appeared via hologram, a military officer with numerous decorations on his uniform. This is Colonel Lee Jae-wook, commander of our expeditionary forces, Minho introduced. Jae-wook stepped forward, his expression serious but not threatening. Imperial officers, I want you to understand something important. Everything you have. Seen today, our ships, our weapons, our technology, this is just our diplomatic mission. He activated a display showing the Earth system. where hundreds of massive human vessels could be seen in orbital formations around their home planet. Our main fleet has never left Earth's space. What you've encountered today is less than 5% of our total military capability. The Imperial officers stared in shock at the images of the human home fleet. The ships were enormous, dwarfing even the Empire's largest dreadnoughts, and there were hundreds of them. "We came here to talk, not to conquer," Jaywuk continued. "But we came prepared to defend ourselves if talking failed." Within hours of the meeting's conclusion, news of the encounter began spreading across the galactic communication network. Despite Imperial attempts to classify the information, word leaked out that an unknown species had forced the mighty Empire to negotiate on worlds throughout Imperial space. Subject populations who had lived under Imperial rule for generations began to stir with new hope. If humans could challenge the Empire successfully, perhaps freedom was possible for others as well. Rebellions that had been simmering for years suddenly erupted into open revolt. On Thanatos Prime, the site of the Imperial genocide that the humans had mentioned, survivors launched coordinated attacks against Imperial installations. On Zarian 7, slave laborers broke free from their work camps and declared their independence. The galactic news networks, despite Imperial censorship attempts, managed to broadcast fragments of the story. Unknown species forces Empire to negotiate. Mysterious humans possess superior technology. Imperial fleets surrounded and outmaneuvered. In the Imperial capital, emergency sessions of the High Command were being held around the clock. Emperor Zaxtel himself was awakened from his regeneration chamber to deal with the crisis as the immediate shock began to wear off. A final holographic message was transmitted to all Imperial leadership. Human woman appeared, her bearing confident and professional. "Imperial leaders, I am Captain 1 Dahi. Speaking on behalf of the United Earth Federation," she began. "Today's events mark the beginning of a new era in galactic relations. For too long, this galaxy has been dominated by fear, oppression, and the threat of military force. The Empire has maintained control through superior technology and ruthless application of power." She paused, her expression becoming more serious. "But technological superiority is not permanent. Eventually, someone develops better technology. Eventually, someone finds a way to level the playing field." The display behind her showed images of Earth, cities, forests, oceans, and billions of humans living in peace and prosperity. "We have been preparing for galactic contact for over 50 years. We have studied your civilizations, learned your languages, and developed technologies specifically designed to ensure we could meet you as equals." Her voice became firmer. "The question is not whether humans are ready for galactic civilization. We have been ready for decades. The question is whether the rest of the galaxy is ready for us." The message ended with a simple statement that would be remembered throughout galactic history. The age of unopposed Imperial dominance is over. The age of galactic cooperation begins now. In the weeks that followed, the Empire reluctantly withdrew from the 23 star systems as demanded. The human embassy was established on the Imperial capital world. It's the first foreign embassy in Imperial history. The galaxy would never be the same. The balance of power had shifted permanently, and for the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire was no longer the undisputed master of the stars. Humanity had announced its arrival, and the galaxy was listening.